My parents found a house to rent in a beautiful location off the Appalachian Trail for an extremely good price. Half of the house was fairly new, and the other half was very old, put together with wooden pegs instead of nails. The first odd thing we noticed was that one area of the lawn, which was enclosed by a stone wall, was constantly sticky and covered in flies. Then we started to hear balls bouncing and what sounded like children running up and down the hallway. Every night the front door would open and close, followed by the door into the kitchen and around the corner to the side door going out. My dog refused to go into the old part of the house and would urinate if we forced her. Things continued to escalate to the point where canned goods would fly off the shelves. My brother's closet door would slam open and shut rapidly, and we'd be woken up by faceless children. My father refused to believe anything was going on and always had some rational explanation for it. That is, until he was asked by the landlord to replace the floor in the living room. When he opened the hatch to access the crawl space, a fireball of electricity shot out at him, which he ignored. But when we went down the ladder, we found a small dirt room about 4 feet high, and it was a stone slab approximately 6 feet long, with a groove carved around the edge and forming a sort of stone spout at one end. The next day we came home to find 4 of our birds with their necks snapped in their cage, and a mirror flew off the wall at my brother. My parents packed what would fit in the car, and we moved to a campground until we found another place to live. Whatever was in that house, I don't believe was a ghost, but something evil and dangerous. It all started when my fiance and I bought a new house. It's actually a few houses down from my mother's home, where we've also had chilling tales. Our houses are directly across the street from an old cemetery. Upon moving in, we had odd things happen. It started off where my dogs would stare into my dark hallway, always around 3 a.m., and growl and raise their fur. It always gave me a sinking feeling. I was taking a shower not long after the dog incident, and something touched my shoulder. I ran out of the shower, soap in my hair and eyes screaming. My fiancé said the look of terror on my face made him think someone was in our house and caused him to panic. A few weeks later, I heard a low whisper while in the shower, and I ran out in terror again. The icing on the cake is about to take place. I was out on my back porch, cleaning and organizing things, when on my back door, I heard a loud slam on the glass, so loud I expected it to shatter. I ran outside, couldn't even speak. I was so horrified, and again, my fiancé thought an intruder was inside. There was nobody around. We live on a dead-end street in good neighborhood. I wasn't expecting a human to be the cause. Fast forward to a few weeks later, and we decided to put a fence in the backyard to keep my dogs contained. Upon building said fence, my fiancé unearthed a gravestone in our backyard. It was dated from 1851 and appears to be from a young girl. I have a photo on my phone. After finding the gravestone, things escalated. I would be on my treadmill in the bedroom, and something would touch my shoulder. I started seeing shadow figures and hearing creepy, low voices. My animals usually picked up on a presence too. I had the majority of the experiences, but I think it's due to the fact that I'm the woman of the house, and she's looking for a mother figure. I own a duplex and rent out the other half. My past 2 tenants and current ones all had their own ghost stories and said it was haunted. I mentioned my mother's house is a few houses away, built along the same cemetery near my house. Well, she called one day after getting home from work at 11:30 at night. She was almost in tears, saying she entered her kitchen and said she's heard the creepiest voice that sent chills down her spine. She's lived on her own for 20 years and wouldn't even enter her own house. She was horrified. My fiancé and I came right over and went through her entire house, but nobody was there. When I was a child and we had just moved into that house, She called the police before because it would sound like someone had a baseball bat and was beating on the outside of the house. But of course, nobody was ever there. I still live in my house with the gravestone we unearthed. The gravestone is still leaning against my house. I wasn't sure what to do with it. I didn't want to just desecrate it, so it's leaned against my house in my fenced-in dog pen. We also dug all around looking for a body, but I suppose didn't dig that deep, and we didn't dig the whole yard up. For all I know, there could have been a body in my yard. It was from 1851. It's quite possible the family buried their child in their yard. It's also possible the graveyard expanded to where my house is. Athol used to be a hotspot back in the 1800s. That pesky graveyard was taking up prime land, and folks wanted to build here. Just another thought of mine for why I have a gravestone in my yard, and all these creepy experiences. I can't remember the exact date. It was almost 25 years ago. I do remember it being in the summer, though. I was about the age of 8 years old. My parents had a family friend pass away, and since they didn't have a sitter for me, I had to go along. I was afraid of dead bodies at the time, understandably since I was a child. I just sat at my seat and waited until my parents decided it was time to leave. I distinctly remember a brunette woman coming up and talking with me. She was wearing red heels, black tights, a black dress about down to her knees, a red and black suit-looking shirt, and she had on earrings and a necklace. I cannot recall what they were exactly. I don't know why I can remember this woman so well, or why I can almost perfectly recall her exact outfit. She just stuck out in the crowd. She asked me what my name was. I told her Josh. She then asked me a few more questions about how I knew the deceased. I told her he was a family friend. She then proceeds to tell me that she is his wife. I thought maybe it was his daughter or another friend of the man's. She was a lot younger than him. Her exact words were, "I know we will be together again very soon." At 8 years old, I didn't know better. I was brought up to be friendly to strangers, and I just talked to her. Too many people around for her to try and kidnap me. I do remember everyone looking at me funny though, and giving me dirty looks. I didn't know why they were doing this. We sat there and talked a good 15 minutes or so. Someone must have said something to my parents about me. I remember when my mother told me they were leaving, she was griping at me that I should stop talking to myself. I told her I wasn't talking to myself. I was talking to the man's wife, who had died. She was talking to me. We still kind of mention this today and share a chuckle over it because even she says she remembers saying this. "Josh, that isn't funny. That man's wife died." It was about 11 p.m. I had just gone into bed and turned on the TV. And after about 5 minutes, the TV turned off by itself and the telephone rang one time. It then felt like someone put their arm under my pillow and my head and shoulders were lifted up about 20 inches or so. I then yelled, "Oh God," and I was instantly dropped. Another time I woke up in the middle of the night and smelled a strong smell of urine. It was so strong smelling that I had peed myself, so I jumped out of bed and checked, but I hadn't. I then went to the bathroom to pee, and I saw a puddle of some liquid on the floor in front of the closet door. There was no reason for liquid to be there. I got paper towels to clean it up, and you could smell that it was strong urine. This worried me. I thought, did I do this in my sleep? It happened again a few nights later with a strong urine smell, and urine on the floor at the same spot. Sometimes I would get a whiff of urine throughout the day. I asked a friend that came over to smell me and tell me if I smelled like urine, and I didn't. I told him what was happening, and after a few days later, he brought me a book. He said he read the back of it, and when I did, I started crying because it said, if you smell urine in your house for no reason, that you have a demon in your house. Some people told me they saw a black shadow in my dining room, and some other weird stuff would go on from time to time. What got me was this was a new house that I had built. I sold it after living there for 5 years. I was very careful not to talk about moving because I did not want this thing coming with me. At one time, I did demand it to leave, and things did settle down somewhat after that, but I always felt like someone was watching me. It creeped me out when I would take a bath. Thanks for reading. I've seen or experienced ghosts or spirits most of my life. My family is from a small town in southern Louisiana, where just about everyone I knew either saw ghosts or had a family member who experienced such. When I started telling my parents about the things I felt, saw, and dreamed, I was encouraged. One of my parents would always say, "Oh, your uncle sees this ghost. And don't forget about your Aunt E. She lives in a haunted house and talks to spirits all the time." So when my most recent experience happened, I was not surprised. My aunt died on January 18th, 2016. She was 96 years old. And although it was sudden, I was happy that she didn't suffer and had lived on her own up until 2 weeks before her death. She was the last relative of my parents' generation, both having crossed over many years ago themselves. I'd been feeling rather blue to say the least, but I returned to my daily routine within a matter of days. On Friday, January 29th, I was driving home after a long week. I was on a very wide and busy street. I stopped at a stoplight at a major intersection. While I sat in traffic, I experienced the most delicious aroma of a cheeseburger. I could smell the patty on the griddle, the yellow-orange cheese, the hot, salty yellow peppers, the yummy pickles, and the bun on the griddle, as well as the crispy French fries. The aroma was so great, I said out loud, "Boy, if the burger wouldn't be cold by the time I got home, I would stop and buy one." And that is when it hit me. There was not a single burger joint anywhere in this area, so I smiled and chalked it up to a visit from my aunt. But my visit wasn't over. I got home and started to relax into the evening. I went into my bedroom and my cat followed, as he usually does. When I sat down on the side of my bed, I observed him to jump up in the air as if he was playing with a string of some sort. This went on for about 2 minutes. I just sat there amazed, wondering what kitty he found so delightful. Then it hit me. My aunt liked cats, but my mother loved cats. So again, I smiled and chalked it up to my aunt. Had also brought my mother, which was her sister, both of which loved cheeseburgers and pastrami. And my mother decided to play with my cat. That night, I slept well and happy, and I think that kitty slept well too. It is nice to know the spirits are always with us, even when they take form in the mundane. If you don't subscribe, my ghost will kill you, and it will be amazing because you will be a part of the afterlife, and then I'll narrate a story about it and put it on my channel. So if you don't subscribe, I will subscribe back, which doesn't make any sense, but I want you to share, comment, like, and subscribe. Anyway, guys, sorry you had to hear that horror. That was really bad. I'm not even going to try to sing anymore. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Really do. And I'd love to see what your comments are about this video. So don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe like I was just singing horribly about. And I'll catch you in the next video.